Greetings, 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 everyone. Steve, Paracord Bracelet. How you doing today? Hopefully your weaving's been happy. Okay, what I have for you today is I'm going to show you how I weave a fishtail with a Cobra Inlay. Credit for this bracelet goes to Macabit's Instagram account, which I'll leave a link below. I made quite a few of these in various color themes. As you can see here, we got a blue one, we got a purple one, and we've got sort of a green, light green, turquoise one. And then I did one yesterday, most recently, is this black one. Black with gray. And the darkest colors I have. I'll show you this one right here. We look at it real close. It's a basic fishtail, and then this cobra is inlaid or interwoven while we do the bracelet. And it's not real difficult once you understand the mechanics and you get the steps in order. But it's definitely not a beginner weave. But if you're looking to advance beyond that beginner level, this is definitely something you could try. But you're going to have to be patient with it. Like I say, it's got a few steps, and the mechanics, you have to get them in order. But if you want to see how I do this, and all the tips and tricks that my channel is known for, stick around, because we'll get right to it, folks. Okay, weavers, I'm back. And obviously you can see that I'm not set up like I normally am, ready to begin weaving. The reason is, I'll get to it in a second, but let's get the quote-unquote housekeeping information out of the way. First off, this, I gotta give credit where credit's due. This fishtail with the Cobra Inlay, that's what I call it, with the Cobra Inlay. Credit goes to Macabit's. Many of you have heard of him. He's got an Instagram account. I'll put that in the description below. And if I remember, I'll put a link to the actual pictorial from where I got this on his Instagram account. Okay, so there's that. Today I'm going to be using a 5/8 inch yellow plastic buckle. And for those of you who know, I don't normally use these plastic buckles, but like I showed, I've been using a colored plastic buckle to match the color theme. It goes so well with this. So, you know, that's why I'm going to use a yellow buckle, because obviously we're going to be using yellow. We're going to be using yellow, pastel yellow for the bracelet, the fishtail itself. The spine piece, which I'll get to you, all this will make sense in a minute, is going to be Goldenrod. And then the stitching is going to be Canary Yellow. And I've got a very long piece of it over here. That, let me get a hold of it. Don't want it to get tangled up on anything because it's quite long. It's Canary Yellow. So here, let me hold all these pieces together and we'll kind of get an idea of what we're going for. Right? Okay, now, let's see. All the measurements, I'll say this. All the measurements and stuff will be down below. And for many of you, like I've said in the past, the measurements I give are for my individual weaving style. I tend to pull things tight, push everything up, so everything will be neat, clean, and tight, okay? Now, also, I always overestimate my measurements. And when I make one, and, you know, I sit down to figure out my numbers and I get my measurements, I always leave myself some room. If I end up with a foot on this side and a foot on this side, or sometimes a foot and a half and a foot and a half that I have to cut off in the end, I'm fine with that. Because the cord does not cost that much. People say, well, you're wasting cord. Well, yes and no, but I would rather make sure that I have enough cord to actually finish the weave, especially something like this that is labor intensive, because you don't want to get down to the bottom of this and realize, oh goodness, I don't have enough cord. Makes sense? That's why all my numbers are so high. I've had people, you know, comment about that in the past. That's why. So, you know, your numbers, you may want to drop them down a little bit. That's okay. I'm just giving you what I use. These are not set in stone, right? Okay, now, with that said, let's see. I'm not going to do a shameless plug. Although I had these on today, I'll just tell you what they are. This is an Anaconda, and I did the stitching in the yellow. What is this? Black, the exposed spine, because it's an independent core. If you know what I'm talking about with that, you got the exposed spine. The exposed core piece running up is fox orange, imperial red, and then the stitching, which is all me, is yellow. And it's Anaconda. This is from, let's see if I can remember. It's an Instagram account. ce.paracord.by.sfs. Right? As far as I know, there's no YouTube channel linked with that account. But there's a lot of work on there. And like many Instagram accounts, there's a lot of pictorials. And that's where I got this. Okay. Now, this one is from Surf City Paracord. I seen a picture of Surf City Paracord on Instagram. I just seen a picture of this, and it's Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon. And the white, obviously, is glow in the dark. And then, you know, the stitched prism. It's supposed to be a beam of light going through a prism, and it's separating into its colors, right? And it's just a fishtail at its base. A fishtail that's been stitched, right? That's us. Like I said, I don't have tutorials for these, but I'll put the link to these two accounts down below. You can check them out. I don't know if this account has any pictorials on it, but the person does some amazing work. You know, eye candy for you. Okay, there's that. Okay, now, with that said, no shameless plug, and I'm not going to wear these today because of the nature of what I'm doing. I've got that really long piece of micro cord, and it tends to want to get snagged, tangled, hung on any and everything it can. Murphy's Law in full effect when it comes to this piece of micro cord. So, I'm going to take all that off to alleviate it getting caught on that. Okay, now, like I said, I don't have this one set up like I normally do, ready to go. Why? Because this one, part of making this one is in the setup itself. And I'll say this. I know a lot of people when they do a 4-strand core setup, a lot of the tutorials I've seen when I was learning how to do all this, and a lot of the people, you know, a lot of the work I see, when they set up a 4-strand core bracelet, they do it different than the way I do. Okay? Now, this is just the way I do it. I saw all the different variations, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to just do it this way. Well, it just happens to be that the way I do it helps facilitate the setup of this bracelet because of that extra spine piece that's in there. When I say spine, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me get this one over here, this blue one. If you look at this, what you got is a basic fishtail, and then you've got this extra piece of 550, and it is not gutted. Do not gut this. Well, I guess you could, but I don't think it would turn out as well. I've never tried to make one of these with that gutted piece. I don't think it would look quite as well. Therefore, I've never done it. But hey, if you want to try it, go right ahead. But I've never done it. But anyway, to set up this spine piece, you do that in the beginning when you set this up. And like I say, the way I set up a 4-strand core facilitates this setup of that spine piece, and it makes it work. To me, it seems like it would work better than the way I see most tutorials and or the way people set up their 4-strand cores. Right? Okay, now, with that said, we'll get to it in a second. I'm going to say this. Like I said in the introduction, this is definitely not a beginner weave. But, and that's a huge but, it's not really that hard. I'm not trying to dissuade or discourage a beginner from trying this. By all means, follow along, and hopefully watching this video, you'll be able to do this. Because, to be honest, it's not hard. It just, there's a little bit more steps than maybe you're used to. in a weave, and because of all the steps, it can be confusing. And like I've said, all of this is, if you can make a fishtail and you can do a Cobra or a Solomon bar, Cobra bar, whatever, if you can make those two bracelets, you can do this. All it is you're doing the same. You're doing the same two weaves at the same time, but you do a step of one, the fishtail, and then you do a step of the Cobra. Then you do a step of the fishtail and a step of the Cobra, and you alternate between those two as you go down, because this Cobra part, the Cobra inlay, is interwoven as you make the fishtail bracelet. It's not done after the fact. It's not make the fishtail and then come back and stitch or sew it into it. You're doing it at the same time. You're interweaving. Hence why I call it inlaid. It's inlaid into that bracelet. Make sense? Okay, so with all that said, that's why I haven't set all this up. I'm going to show you how to set this up. So you'll get a little sneak peek into the way I do this. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you. Normally, I'll explain the process of the way I set up my bracelets, which I've explained this before, and I've showed it a few times. But the way I do this, I will sit down, and let's see, I'll tell you why I do this. Most of the time I'm using metal buckles, and I can tension them as tight as I can, and there's no worry that this yellow and from this black will separate. Not that it's going to break, it's just simply it will fail because it's plastic. It will snap loose if you pull it too tight. Sometimes these plastic buckles hold, but most of the time they don't. But when I use the metal ones, I can pull this thing, my jig, as tight as I want, and it'll hold it. But the way I do this is I'll go ahead. I've already measured this. For those who don't know, here's your basics. Where these two pieces meet, we don't measure the prongs. We don't measure the actual male part of the male side of the buckle, right? We don't measure that. We measure where it's going to connect to this piece of black, right? So you measure from there, that connection point right there, to that connection point down here on the bottom. I know you can't see that, but the same connection point, right? That's how you measure that's your jig measurement. Okay, now, again, back to the basics. Wrist measurement plus the add to factor, which is determined by the thickness of the bracelet. The thicker the bracelet, the more the add to is. But those two numbers, wrist measurement plus that add to, equals what you measure out on your jig in order to have the bracelet actually fit in the end. Make sense? Okay, now, I'm making this one for my other half. And she, like many women, they don't want it a tight, I ain't gonna say tight, but a snug fit like men do. They would rather have the bracelet a little loose where it'll spin around their wrist. So I'm going to oversize this one on purpose, right? And I'm not so concerned about it fitting perfectly. So it's going to be oversized. In fact, when I get done making it, it most likely will fit around my wrist. But I've already measured out how far I want this. Normally what I do, the way I do this, every jig is different. Everybody's style is slightly different. But I will measure this out normally on a metal buckle. When I'm using a metal buckle, I'll measure this out to be a 1/4 inch shy or shorter than what I want it to actually be. And then once I set up all my core strands, and I get all the slack out and I got it hand tight, then I will take it, and this piece down here at the bottom, the carriage, that's the one that slides. I'll take it and I'll tighten that up as much as I can, and I'll screw it back down and lock it in place. And what that does is it stretches those core strands and gets them as tight as they can be. And in doing so, that 1/4 inch shy that I measured it, I can stretch it and I'll get that 1/4 inch out of it. Right? Now, like I say, everybody's jig's different. Maybe if you do it that way and you try to stretch it, you may not be able to get 1/4 inch. Or you might get more than 1/4 inch. You just have to work with your jig and see what that little give is, you know, and you do it over time, you get used to it. But for me it's about 1/4 of an inch. But that's when I use a metal buckle. When I use these plastic buckles, I can't pull it as tight as I normally do. And since I'm making this one for my wife, and she's not so concerned about it exacting fit, and she wants it a little loose, I'm oversizing it anyway. So I'm not so concerned about the measurements, right, today. But I do have it already measured out to what I want it to be, and then I'm going to stretch it. And I'll show y'all that when I get to there. But because I say this one is most of this bracelet is in setting it up. I've made quite a few of these, and I've seen this, and I've done it this way, and I've done it that way, or whatever. And I found this, the way I'm going to show you, produces an end product that looks the best. Okay? Now, I'm going to start off, and I'm going to just show you how I do a 4-strand core setup. Same setup that I got in my tips and tricks playlist, which, core strand playlist, all that. That's something I would recommend. If you're a beginner, learn your core strand setups: 2-strand core, 4-strand core, 6-strand core, independent cores. If you know what I mean by that, that's the basics. Learn how to do that stuff, and all these variations of those things. That way, when you go to do a bracelet and it's a 4-strand core, you're not sitting there fighting with trying to figure out how to do the strand set or core setup. You already know that, and you focus more on the mechanics and doing the weave. Makes sense? But that's why I tell everybody, if you want to learn how to do this, learn your core strand setups. That way you can do them and you don't have to think about them. Okay, now with all that said, I'm going to show you how I do this. And like I say, the way I normally do a 4-strand core setup is different than most tutorials I've seen in the way I see a lot of people do them. I do it slightly different. But, like I say, it facilitates in doing this bracelet. So, I figured I would show all that. Okay, now with all that said, I'll show you how I do this. Okay, and I figured there's going to be, since there was so many people requesting how to do this and make a tutorial, I figured there's probably going to be some beginners. And I figured I'd just go ahead and show you the whole thing by the numbers, step by step, the whole process. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take our pastel yellow, which is going to be the main body of the bracelet, the fishtail, right? And fishtail can be done on 2-strand core, 4-strand core. You can even do it on 6-strand core. I've done some of those. I think I've even made one on an 8-strand core once. All it does is kind of makes it a little wider, a little thicker, or whatever. But for this one, I'm going to do this one on a 4-strand cord. And I'll say this pastel cord right here, even though it's technically it's 550, it is a little bit thinner than your typical 550. So what that's going to end up being, like I showed it in one of the videos somewhere, I don't remember where I mentioned it. I'll show you right here today. This is both 550 cord. But if you look at this purple one, it's thinner this way than this one is. Both 550, both on 4-strand cores. Because this actual 550 cord is thinner, that means it equates to a thinner, not as wide. The bracelet is narrower than this one is. Right? Okay, so with that said, this yellow we're using today, it's going to end up looking like this. It's going to be a thinner one. Just so, I forgot to throw that out there. Okay, now let's set this up. Shut up talking, Steve, and get to weaving. Okay, what we're going to do, first thing you're going to do, you're going to find the halfway point of whatever color you've chosen. Simplest way to do it is line the two ends up, hold them, and then run your fingers down it like this. And that'll give you your halfway point. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to tilt this camera. I'm going to tilt the camera just a little bit and zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. Okay, so, motion sickness alert. I'm moving the camera. I know some people that makes them queasy. Motion sickness, I mean, literally, that's what it is. But I'm going to tilt this down just a little bit so you can see this. Okay? What I'm going to do, I'm going to take that halfway point, and I'm going to come from the bottom And I'm going to just come up through the slot in the buckle. If I can get it to go through that slot. So normally I don't do any of this on camera. I already have all this done. So all this fighting, me trying to get it to go through there, y'all don't see none of that. Right? Okay, now that I got it through that, this little loop that it creates. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the two strands here, and I'm going to bring them up through that loop. And just pull a slide through. No, wait, whoa, stop. Back up. I'm setting this, I'm already setting this up wrong. I'm thinking set this up as a 2-strand cord. Stop, rewind, erase. Okay. I was setting that up as a 2-strand cord. See, I make mistakes too. Alright, I'm not going to edit that out. We're going to start this over. Okay? Halfway point. Same halfway point, right? Every cord. You're going to go to the top buckle. What we're going to do is we're going to go down from the top up here, close to the camera, top, bottom, down here by the table. We're going to go through the top, and this loop this created, we're going to pull our excess through that loop. Now, I'm not going to pull this extremely tight yet. Here, let me zoom in so you can... Well, no, I'm not going to zoom in too much because you won't be able to see what I'm going to do down there at the bottom. But I'm not going to tighten up. What I've done is a lark's head or a cow's hitch. Right? That's all that is. But I'm not going to tighten it up too much because I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to have to get through this hitch. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to follow this out to the end, keeping the left on the left and the right on the right. Right? Make sure they're still even. I mean, they don't have to be perfectly even, but you don't want like 6, 7, 8 inch difference between the ends. That right there, that'll work. Okay, now like I said, left on left, right on right. And what I'm going to do now, excuse me, I'm going to take these two ends and I'm going to go through the top of that slot. All right? Those two ends that come out the back. Right? Okay, now what I'm going to do, like I said, keep the left on the left and the right on the right. And these two ends that come up, we're going to do what's a term called splitting the rails. Those two pieces that are running down through there, I'm going to pull these up through the middle. It'll make sense in a minute. We say that. How left on the left, right on the right, they go down. It goes through the buckle and then it comes back up. Through there. Splitting the rails. That's the term you'll hear people use. Okay, and again, same thing. Keep that left one on the left side and the right one on the right side. All right? Okay, now, I'm going to do this left side first. Find the end of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. I'm going to push all this stuff over in that slot to make room. And I'm going to take that end from the left cord and I'm going to come from the bottom through the slot. I'm going to pull it up. What that's doing is creating another one of these lark's head or cow's hitch on that side of the buckle. Right? And let's not pull it tight yet. We'll get to that in a second. And now we're going to take the end of it. And this is where it differs the way I do it. I'm going to just go through the top and pull it down through there. Alright? Okay. Now I'm going to take this end. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go just that one left cord that we've been working with. I'm going to go over the top of it and then back around up under it. And what I'm doing is this loop that's being formed, I'm going through this loop. I'm just creating like a knot right there. And that right there is what I would call a locking knot. Once I get it all tight, I'm going to tighten this knot down, and it's going to hold all these core strands. So when I put pressure on it, it's not going to slip. Make sense? Now, what all I did right there, we're going to do it on the right side now. So we're going to take this right piece from where we split the rails, and it's coming up. We're going to just follow it out to the end. And again, we're going to take all this stuff, and we're going to push it all to the side. And that slot, we're going to come from the bottom side and come up through the slot. We're going to pull it up. And again, we're creating another lark's head or cow's hitch right here. And I say this too, I probably should have said this in the beginning, but I didn't think about it. If you can't see this very well and you can't follow this because, you know, it's kind of far away from the camera, I understand. There's a link in the description below. I want to say it's called Core Strand Setup Playlist. Click on that link and it'll go in there and you'll see one for a 4-strand core setup. There may be 2 versions, a deep cut and a shallow cut. They're going to show you the same information or the same mechanics of how to do it. The deep cut is me explaining, you know, over-explaining as some people put it, but thoroughly explaining what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. The shallow cut is just kind of bam, 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 there it is, right? So if you can't quite see this, or you're following it, or you're having trouble, go check out that playlist. Core Strand Setup Playlist, 4-strand core. It's the same way I do in those videos as the way I'm doing it here. Okay? All right. Now, back to this. After you get that cow hitch, we still got the end of that cord. What we're going to do, same thing as we did up here on this side, we're going to do it on this side. We're going to kind of slide everything over, making room, and we're going to go from the top down through that slot. I'm pulling our excess. See, it's got a twist in it. We got to get those out. Always be mindful of your twists in your cord. And if you look, you can see the grain of the cord. You want to get all them twists out. Okay, now, again, find the end. And on this right side, this outer core strand on that side, what we're going to do is we're going to come over the top of it and then back around and up under it. And this big loop that's being created, we're going through it. So what we're ending up basically doing, I notice we're just creating this little knot right here. Right? Okay, now, that's how I would set up a 4-strand core setup just in general. Now here's the part where we add the spine. This piece. Okay, what I'm going to do, now I'll zoom in. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see this. Just so you can see exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take one end of this. And this middle hitch, the one where we started, that was the halfway point of this long, entire piece of Pastel Yellow. The halfway point where we started our 4-strand core setup. That hitch, I'm going to loosen that up just a little bit. And I'm going to take this end and I'm going to go up through this hitch. Let me get it in there, and the contrasting colors, you should be able to see what I'm doing. Alright? Okay. Now with the end right here, I'm going to run it down through this buckle. Now I'm going to tell you, this is temporary. What I'm doing right now is temporary. This will be changed once we have the bracelet completely woven. But this is done simply to hold this piece in place as we weave. But this little doodad I'm doing up here is only temporary. Okay? But I'm going to show you this. Pay attention to this. We're going to go through the slot. And you may be thinking, why has he got this piece so long? I'm going to show you. When you get it through there, You want this little tail that sticks out the back. I'm going to show you this. I say this all the time. Where's my... your lacing needle, your fid, your stitching needles, whatever you want to call it. You want this piece on the back long enough that when, at the very end of the project, when you go to put this on here, you can fold it back over itself. And you've got room. Why? Because in the end, we're going to take this piece and we're going to back weave it. We're going to anchor it into the back side of the bracelet. And you got to have this piece long enough in order to fold that fid over itself and get it in there. Because if this fid, or if this piece is too short, you can't get it. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't work. That's why it's got to be that long. Okay? So you want it to be longer than your actual fid. Now, if you're not using fids and you're going to use like a hemostat or you do some other method, hey, go right ahead. But the end product looks better when you use a fid. And if you're using a fid, you got to have that piece long enough to do this. Right? Now, I'll go ahead and tell you, the nature of the way this is done, we're going to be pulling on this piece of, this is goldenrod. We're going to be pulling on this piece as we weave. And it may shorten this and it may make this longer. You see what I'm saying? We're going to pull on this piece in both directions, right? So, go ahead and consider that. And when you make this piece back here, make it even longer. You see what I'm saying? Give yourself a little room, right? But you want it long enough on this end that you got some on the other end too, at the bottom. Because the same thing that's going on here with this fid is the same thing that's going to go on at the bottom, right? So, make sure you got enough room. Alright, okay. Now, with that said, let's see. I don't need that much room. Yeah. Okay, now that we got that in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach up here. I'm going to grab these two pieces of yellow, and I'm going to pull these hand tight. I'm going to put these hand tight right here. Kind of push up this cow hitch. What I'm doing is tightening this middle part right here up. All right. Okay, now, down here at the bottom, let me zoom back out so you can see this. I'm going to take out the end of this goldenrod, the spine piece, which is actually going to act as the core for the Cobra part. All right, we're going to take that piece right there. Down here, we're going to go through the top slot of this buckle. We're just going to go through the slot. Now, like I said, this is temporary. This will be changed in the end. I'm going to just do this right here. Just the way I do it. If I can get it to go through there. Yeah. And just kind of, you don't have to pull it tight. Just get it in there. That's it. Now, like I said, back to these two strands right here. Through this cow hitch. Kind of hold your buckle and pull them. And it's going to tighten this up. Okay, now. Follow down, and these two little loops that are here, where they're coming from the inside, what it is, these two strands go down and they go through this slot, and this is where they come out at. What you're going to do is grab a hold of those two little loops, the inner part of the loop, not the outside, but the inside, and just kind of pull them. What it's going to do, it's going to take out the slack of those two inner core strands. Not these two out here on the edges. These two inner ones, right? And just kind of hold that. What I always do is I reach back here with my fingers and I kind of pinch all that right there in the middle. Kind of hold that. And now I got this loose. And I'm going to reach over here to this core strand. When I'm going to pull this upwards, that's going to take its slack out of this loop. Making sure this doesn't have a twist in it. I always tends to want to get a twist in that loop. And you pull it. When you get it up here, just kind of, I'm pulling it this direction as I'm kind of working it. And that's getting all that slack out of it, right? Now I'm going to just switch over. Still pinching it with this forefinger and thumb right here. And I'm going to grab it up here and do the same thing. Make sure it doesn't have a twist in it. And if it tends, you saw me with my thumb, I pushed it up around. What it is that hitch tends to want to come around the edge of the buckle. We don't want it up there. We want it up here in the top. And you just kind of do like that. Right, now, up here on the top, we're going to follow this end up. And when it goes through the buckle, when it comes out the back side of the buckle, all it's doing is taking out the slack. I'm going to do this the same way. All right. Kind of pull it. It don't have to be real tight. Just pull it. Pull your slack out. And I'm going to grab them with my fingers back here. That way I can pinch it up here. And hold it. And I'm going to take this. I'm going to work out all that slack. I'll use my thumb to push it up. And when I get it up here, I'm going to pull it this way as I'm using my thumb to kind of roll the slack through that knot. All right, and that's tightened that up. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Push it up there. Get it up there. Okay, now, with all that done, see, now my core strands are relatively tight. But, you know, they're still a little loose and all that. Like I said, I get all that set up. I already had this measured. Just shy of what I actually want it to be. Now I got it hand tight. This is where I would flip it over, and I'm going to tighten up this part. And this is what you don't normally see me do on camera. So my camera's going to move. I'm going to, this thing, that's Velcro down up there. Because I've got it tilted up so I can see it, like an easel. Right? So when I take this off, camera's going to move and all this kind of stuff. But you're going to see how I do this. Right? Where's my screwdriver? Give me just a second. I got to find, where's it at? Give me a second, folks. So I don't normally film these videos and show you all this that I'm showing. Where's it at? Oh, here it is right here. I don't normally show you all this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off. And I'll show you. Okay, just so we know, this piece of wood back here, a lot of people will they'll call this part up here a block, and they'll call this part down here a block. And the spine, that's what I call it. This piece down here I call the carriage because it's the one that slides up and down. So you can change your jig measurement, correct? So what I do, this is the way I do this. I flip this over, and you can see this. There's a wing nut and a bolt right here, and I've got that wing nut recessed into that block of wood, so I don't have to hold that wing nut. It's recessed into two little grooves, so I don't have to hold it. It holds itself. But the screw is right here with this washer. That's what I tighten up. But I flip it on its side, and I'll show you this. I'll take this end, and I'll put it in my chest. I just take a little piece. All this is pipe insulation, just a piece of foam. I'll put it on there because I pull this thing pretty tight. I put this in my chest. My chest holds this as I pull. I'm going to grab here with one hand and the screwdriver in the other hand, and I'm going to pull this thing toward me, right? And my chest is holding this back, and it's going to tighten up these core strands. Now, like I say, normally when I'm using metal buckles, I will tighten this thing down. It will be like piano wire. Well, I can't do that today because I got plastic buckles, right? But we'll get it there. All right, give me my screwdriver. You ain't going to be able to see me do all this. Like I say, I don't normally do all this on camera. I already have all this done. See how it popped loose? That's because it's a plastic buckle. But that's alright, that's alright. I just know now not to pull it so tight. Hang on a sec, folks. Give me a second. That's why I don't like using plastic buckles. Because I want my stuff to be tight. And these plastic buckles don't lend to things being tight. It don't have to be real tight. Just tight enough. It's a little tighter. Like I said, I'm not going to pull it too tight because it's not that the buckle breaks. It fails in the connection. Why? Because they're cheap plastic buckles. Hence why I don't use them. Why I don't like them. Okay, now, I'm going to get this set up back in place so we can see it. So the camera can get all this on in view and all that. And I'm going to make sure that I've got it in the right place. Yeah, that'll work. I'm going to adjust the camera. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Make sure we got enough room on everything. Okay, that should work. Okay, now what I'm going to do... Give me a second. I'm going to take a break. Give me a second. I'll be right back for you, but I'm going to take a break for just a second. Okay, Weavers, I'm back. I had to take a break. Because I work from the house, I am the man who has to pick up all the packages when they get delivered. And we have quite a few packages between me doing paracord stuff and my other half. And her daughter always has stuff sent here. So, you know, I had something delivered that I had to go get. So, I apologize for that. But, I'm back. Okay, let's see. Next step. Next step in setting up. We're going to set up the piece of micro cord for that Cobra Inlay. Now this right here, this can be a little tricky to get this one started because we got to make sure we get the halfway point locked into position. Okay? So I'm going to make sure, I've already measured this, but I'm going to make sure that this is the halfway point. It's close, but not quite. Now, the thing is, the two ends, okay, that should be the halfway point. Now, when I go to do this, I'm going to recheck this after I get it up there. Why? Because it has a tendency not to stay at that halfway point. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm about to do. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece of micro cord and I'm going to run it behind that piece of goldenrod. That one that's that center individual piece, right? I'm going to run it behind there. And I want my halfway point to be right there. Alright? So, I'm going to just pull the slack through. Right then, I'm going to move it up here to the top, and that's going to kind of hold it in place. Okay, now, here's where we actually begin our weave. Pay attention to this. This right here, when I first started doing this, and I did this, and I made a couple of different varieties, once I realized this, it made things a lot easier. Okay, the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to tell you the way I'm going to do this. When I actually start weaving this fishtail, this piece on this side is going to be the first one that I go with. Correct? The right side is going to be the first step of my fishtail. So what that means is the first part of my Cobra is going to be on this side. Okay? Now I'm going to back out. I'm going to explain this to you. For those who don't know this yet, for the beginners who may not have realized this, when you do a Cobra weave, which is what we're going to do with this micro cord, what you have, I'm sure there's a technical term, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but you're going to have one of your cords, okay? Now remember, this piece of goldenrod, this spine piece, that is acting as the core of this micro cord Cobra we're going to do. Okay? When you do a cobra, whichever one that you cross over the top of that spine with, that, I call that the lead. You can call it the primary cord. It doesn't matter. But the thing is this, that cord, that lead, the one that crosses over the cord strands on the top, will always be the lead cord. No matter if it's on this side or this side, because it changes every time you do a repetition. But that one will always cross over the top of that cord strand. It will never go around the back side. The other one is the one that goes around the back side. And it flip-flops as you weave down. That's with a standard cobra. If you've never thought about that, you've never realized that, and you're brand new and you do a cobra and you realize something's not right, I've woven it wrong, that most likely is what you made a mistake. That one cord, whichever one that you go over cross the top of that cord strand with, it will always cross over the cord strand. That is what I call the lead, or the primary cord in the cobra weave. The other one that goes behind those cord strands, that's the secondary. That's the terms I use. Are they technical terms? No, not really. That's just what I come up with. But that one will always go across the top. And you do it this way once, and in the next repetition, it's on this side, but it still goes across the top. Right? Okay. Understand that. Okay, if you've never realized that, realize that today. There's you a tip to stick in your tool belt, and it will become second nature. Okay, now, with that said, the lead cord in this cobra weave is the one that gets interwoven into the fishtail weave. Right? And because it goes from one side to the other, it gets interwoven from one side, to the next, under that primary strand. Give me just a second, folks. I gotta turn this off, because I can't stand this when I'm trying to do something. My phone was staring down. Okay, we understand that. Let me show you. I'll show you on one of these bracelets. Let's see this purple one I got. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right. Right up here is this right here. Okay, if you look where that cobra starts, it goes underneath this first piece. Like I said, I'm going to start with the right side of the fishtail. And it's going to go up under that piece. And then we do cobra, the fishtail, and we go to the other side and we do the cobra. And on that side, it goes up under it. And it alternates. If you look close, you can't see the fact that it's going up under there. But you see how it goes from here, and it zigs down, and it zags down, and it just zigzags back and forth. Every time it goes across, it goes up under this piece of 550. And it goes up under this one, and it goes up under this one, and it alternates. Right? Okay. Now, with that said, that lead cord of the cobra, that's the one that's going to go underneath the fishtail. It's going to do it on this side, then it's going to do it on this side. It's going to do it on this, and it's going to alternate all the way down. Like I said, we're going to do part of the cobra, then part of the fishtail, then part of the cobra, and part of the fishtail. And we alternate between, like I said, all you're doing is making two bracelets. A step of one, a step of another one, back to the step of the first one, step of the second one, step of the first one, step of the second one, back and forth. But you're intertwining, interweaving those two steps, or the steps, as you go down. Makes sense? It sounds complicated. I'm just trying to explain it in words, and I'm probably overcomplicating it. But once you see this, it's not really that hard. Okay? So keep that in mind, and I'm going to do. Now, back to this. We got to maintain the center of this cord. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Because of the nature of the way this thing's going, even though we're going to start off at the halfway point, meaning the ends of these are they're going to be even down there on the end, right? But because of the nature of the way this thing's woven together, you're going to use more cord of, I want to say it's the lead cord. You're going to use more cord because it's having to interweave down through there. So after you go through the entire bracelet and you get done and you get finished, you're going to notice a significant difference in the ends of these cords. Once you get done and you do this whole thing, these two ends will no longer be even. One of them is going to be longer than the other. Why? Because it takes more of that side of the cord to do this weave than it does the other side. And I'll throw this out there for those who are more advanced. I've never sat down and actually figured out which side it is. I assume it's the lead cord of the Cobra that's getting used more cord, and it adds up. So technically, I guess you could sit down and do the math and figure it out so that whatever. But I'm not worried about that. Just start off with two even ends and make sure you got enough that, because I've had people do this and they don't have enough. Like I say, overestimate and cut. That way when you get down to the end, yeah, you got enough to finish it on this side, but because this one has shortened, you get down to the end, you don't have enough on this side of the cord to finish it. Hence why I overestimate. But just know, as you weave down, and you may notice, why is one, I thought I started off with two even. You did start off with two even ends. Or you better make sure they're even. And that way when you get done, when they're not even, that's the way it is. You didn't do anything wrong. That's the way this weave is. So just, throw that up. I throw that out there so nobody goes, what? Nah, that's the way it is. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I got the even point again. I know y'all are thinking, my goodness, he's talking a lot. Yeah, I just want you to understand all what's going on. But once you actually get this going, it's not that bad. Okay, now what I'm going to do, like I said, I got it pulled up here. And I'm gonna do the first step of this Cobra. And that's going to lock it, hold it in place. Okay? So what I'm going to do, this side's going to be my lead. Because I'm starting the fishtail on this side, I'm going to start the Cobra on the other side. And that's going to get that lead cord across the core strand, that spine piece, that core strand, over to this side. So I'm going to go across the top. I'm only dealing with this piece of goldenrod right this second. Go over the top. And then the other one is going to go over that piece right there, just like a normal Cobra. Don't let this confuse you because it's at different sizes and stuff. It's still a Cobra. Go over here, and then we'll go behind the core strand. I'm going to grab it here and pull it through this loop. Right, so that's the first step, the first Cobra knot. I'm going to just I'm going to loosely tighten it up because once I get it right there, it's going to hold it in place better. But now, I'm going to measure twice and cut once. I'm going to make sure that I've still got it at the center point. I'm going to follow these out to the end again. And you want this to be pretty close. That's close enough. It doesn't have to be exact. Now you don't want 4, 5, 6 inch difference between these two. No. because that may work against you. Because like I say, when you get done, one's going to be a lot shorter. And that 4 or 5 inches, you may need it. So make sure you got them pretty close. All right. I'm going to run it back up. I'm going to do this again and make sure. I'm going to make sure. Because I've done this and I've fallen prey to that running out of cord in the end. One side's plenty long enough to finish, but the other one, because it's, yeah, it doesn't work. And yeah, I've made that mistake quite a few times. And when you're doing this, you really don't, you're like, you really don't want to have to go back. But that right there is close enough. What is that, about an inch difference? That's fine. As long as you've got enough overestimation in this cord to begin with, which I know I do. I know my measurements are enough. So, we got our Cobra knot. We're going to push it up. Okay, we're going to push this up as close to the top, close to that hitch as I can get it. Alright? Once I get it up there, I'm going to pull it tight on that side. Okay, now, after an hour of me explaining all this, I know, but I want everybody to understand this. Walk you through this by the numbers. That's what they used to call it in the Marines. Step by step by step instructions. By the numbers. That way, anybody who's a beginner or new, a novice, noob, whatever, they can actually follow this and they'll be able to make this. Because like I say, it's not that hard. If you can do a fishtail and you can do a Cobra, you can do this. You just got to concentrate a little bit more. Okay, so now that we've got that. Okay, now like I said, I'm going to start with the fishtail on the right side. But I started the Cobra on this side. The cord that was originally on this side, the lead cord is the one that went across the top of the cord strands. And the other one is the one that went around behind it. Right? So now that lead cord of the Cobra is on this side where the one we're going to start with on the fishtail is. Does that make sense? Okay. Now I'm going to show you the interlay part. And it's actually not hard. Okay. But I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to do this. And this is where we actually start weaving this bracelet. Okay. What I'm going to do, this one right here, I'm going to bring it just like a normal fishtail. I'm going to come, this piece right here, this spine piece, kind of gets moved out of the way just a little bit. That way we can get to that center. You got two of this pastel yellow. You got 2 core strands on this side and 2 core strands on this side. We want the center because that's where we're going to go. Right? But this core strand or this spine piece that's acting as the core for the Cobra, on this step, it goes over here. So we're going to take this piece of the fishtail and we're going to come up over that piece of the Cobra and these 2 core strands. We're going to go up and over and down through the middle of those core strands. I'll reach around behind here, up under all this, and grab it. And just pull your slack through. All right. And just kind of pull it tight. Push it up. Now it's not going to be real tight at first. We'll get to that in a second. And I'm going to just I'm going to just take this, and I'm going to move it up out of here, out of the way. You can see it hanging right there. I'm going to get it out of the way. Okay, that's the first step of that fishtail. Now, we did the fishtail, now we go back to the Cobra. Okay, remember, this one is the lead cord. And that lead cord, no matter which side it's on, it's always going to go across the top of the core strand. We got that. I'm going to lift this up. We're back to the Cobra. We're not dealing with these core strands of the fishtail at the moment. We got to switch between the two, right? So we go over the top, where this micro cord goes over the top, And then the secondary cord in that Cobra, it goes over right here, and then it's going to go underneath the core strand, and I'm going to go up through this loop right here, and I'm going to pull that slack through. And this is where, see, it's getting caught and tangled down there, hence why I took my bracelets off. It's caught on something, and I got to figure out what it's caught on down here. There we go. All right. That's the second step of our Cobra knot. We just pull it too. Makes sense? Okay. Now, our lead cord is on this side now. The lead cord of that Cobra, the one that just crossed over that core strand, it's on this side now. And that's the one that's getting interwoven into the fishtail, right? So we did the step of our Cobra. Now we're going to do the step of our fishtail. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take that core strand. Now this time, we're going to kind of move it over this way. That way we can get to that gap in between those core strands. Understand that? And we're going to take this 550 strand of the fishtail, and just like on the other side, we're going to bring it up, and we're going to go over the top of that piece of micro cord. That's where it's getting interwoven in there, and we're going to go down through those middle core strands. And just like before, I'm going to reach behind this piece of micro cord, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to pull my slack through. Right? And then we'll kind of tighten it up here. And like I say, it's not going to look pretty at first. Everything's not going to want to sit right and all that. All right? Now we got the two strands. We'll kind of pull them. I'll pull them. They're not going to want to stay. I'm going to pull them. And I'm going to grab these two Cobra strands. Kind of pull them. Kind of tighten them up. All right? We'll see how that is. And that's it. Now that's one full repetition of everything. Now we just got to do that a billion times till we get to the end. Actually, it's not a billion. It's probably, I don't know, 35, 40 times. But that's it. That's really all it is. All me talking and all that setup was to explain that. But that right there is all it is. It's not really that hard. Okay, now, what we're going to do, we just did the fishtail. We got to go back to the Cobra weave. And like I said, if you look right here, you'll see that this strand, the lead strand of our Cobra, that's the one that's going underneath that piece of fishtail, that piece of 550 that's doing a fishtail, right? That's the lead cord. That's the one that will always go underneath the piece of 550, and it alternates on either side as you go down, right? Now, in order to do that, because the next step of the fishtail's on this side, so we got to get that lead over to that side. Hence, we got to do the Cobra. Again, we're back to the Cobra. We're not doing anything with these pastel yellow core strands. I'm dealing with this piece. So we're going to go lead cord of the Cobra goes across here. The secondary of the Cobra, it goes over the top right there. And then behind that core strand right there, and we're going to come up through this loop on this side and pull our excess through. Hopefully it won't get tangled this time. Bam. Right? And now we just, whoop, that's it. Okay. Now that we got that Cobra on this side, correct? We got the Cobra over here on this side. We're going to go back to the fishtail. Now, stick around because I'm going to show you something. I know when I started doing this, this is even on a regular fishtail or whatever, but on this one it can cause a little confusion. But hopefully what I'm going to tell you will help. We're going to go to this fishtail, this side of the fishtail. Again, we're going to take that core strand of the Cobra and kind of move it over to the side so we can get to that gap in there. We're going to come up over across the micro cord, over the top of the micro cord, over those core strands, and going down through the middle. I'm going to reach behind everything and grab it and just pull my slack through. Pushing it up and kind of tightening it. And your Cobra's all messed up looking, but that's okay. We're going to get it all tight. You're constantly tightening this thing up because a fishtail doesn't want to stay tight anyway, and then now that you got this extra material in there, it really doesn't want to stay tight. So you just have to work with it. All right? Okay. Now, this is a tip I'm going to show you. If you look at these two cords, all right, these two pieces of 550, we see how they're both on the same side. Okay. If you notice, just reach back here and grab a hold of them and pull them straight out to the side. If you notice, there's one, this one in this case, it's closer to this buckle up here, the top side, that direction. And this other one, it's closer to the bottom, this way, right? Okay. If you're not careful, when you go to do the next step of the fishtail and you bring the cord over, if you're not careful, you're going to grab the wrong one of these. Right? Now, how do you know which one to grab? The one that's toward the top. That's the one you grab. When you have them both, doesn't matter. If you've started the other way and there's two of them on one side, on this side, you grab the one that's closest to the top. It doesn't matter. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, I started my fishtail on this side and my Cobra on this side. But for whatever reason, if you started it, flip-flopped it the other way around, these two cords will be on the same side. They'll be over here. But if you've done it exactly the way I've done it, they're going to be on this side. But either way, it doesn't matter. When you get to this point, you got the two pieces of 550 coming out that are the fishtail. The one that's toward the buckle, the top buckle, that's the one you go with when they're on the same side like this. Okay? So when you get to this step, every time you get to this step on this side, just make sure you grab the one that's the top. Right? Okay, just remember that. Now, we got to go back to the Cobra because we got to get this lead cord over here to that side. So we're just going to do it again. We're going to go across the core strand, and again, we're not dealing with none of that in the back right this second. We're doing the Cobra mindset, Cobra mode. Right, go over the top there and bring the secondary over that piece of Cobra right there, or that piece of micro right there. Go around the back side of that core strand right there and come up through this loop right here and pull your excess through and just tighten it up. Okay, now that we got that lead over there, now this is where the confusion would come in. You reach down here, and if you're not paying attention and you're unsure, you'd grab the wrong one, and you'd start, and you might not notice it because I've done it. I'll get there, and I'm like, because like I say in a lot of my videos, once you do one of these, every now and then, see, because the way my jig is, I can kind of spin it a little bit, and I can lean over and look at the back of it. Sometimes the mistake won't show on the front, but it'll show on the back, right? And I look back there in the past, and I've made this mistake that I'm trying to keep you from making. I've made that, and I look back there, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like, and it dawned on me what I did, this right here. So I'm telling you, I'm telling you this because I've made the mistake, so I'm telling you so you don't make the mistake, right? We learn from my stupid mistakes, right? So when we get here, we got our micro cord Cobra lead cord on this side. We go to grab our 550. Which one do we grab? The one that's closest to the top. We bring it over. We go down through that slot underneath here and pull it through. Okay, now we're starting to see the pattern form. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to push up on either side. Kind of give it a little tight. I'm pulling out, tighten it up, tightening that Cobra piece up. And as you do this, every now and then, reach back here. You can still do it because you don't have a lot of knots yet. You can reach back here and kind of pull this piece, and it'll pull it. And you can also reach down here around the bottom side and pull this end, and it'll pull it. And it'll straighten, it'll kind of straighten all this out or whatever. Okay, now that we got here, I'm going to show you this. I may have mentioned this, I may not have, I don't remember. I've talked about this so much in the past couple of days, I can't remember what I've said to who and when and where and all that. But I'm going to show you this right now. A friend of mine, she was saying something about this, and I explained this to her. She said that she couldn't get her fishtail, meaning this 550 on the side, as tight as she would like it. And I told her, I said, well, I said, most likely, because I saw a picture of her work, I said, most likely what you're referring to, if you look, you can see it right there. You see how there's a gap in between these two pieces of 550 right there. You see what I'm saying? There's a gap in between them, as opposed to the normal fishtail, which, what I do with it. The normal fishtail, you don't have those gaps in between those pieces of 550. Okay? And like I told her, I said, the sheer nature of the way this thing's woven together and the fact that you've got that piece of microcord going in between those two pieces of 550 creates that gap. Okay? There is no way that I know of, there is no way to eliminate that gap completely. The only thing we can do is minimize the size of the gap. Okay? And how do you do that? I've already showed you how to do it, but I'm going to tell you now. When you're weaving, like you normally do when you weave a bracelet, and you pull it tight, you push it up, and that will pull some of that, closing those gaps a little bit, right? When you go to pull this thing tight right here, when you go to pull it tight, it's going to loosen up that one side a little bit and create a gap. There's no way around it, right? But we try to keep it as tight as we can as we weave it. And as we do it, we're constantly tightening and adjusting it, right? That way it will be even down the sides and everything, and we try to minimize those gaps. But there's no way to completely eliminate them. Does that make sense? Now that's it. That right there is how you do this bracelet. And I know this was a long video, but I try to thoroughly explain this so you understand all the little variables that come into play, so yours will actually look good. I mean, I could show you over here under there, slap it together, and you may not understand what you're doing, and you do it, and it turns out and it doesn't look great. I want it to look great, man. I want it to be something you can be proud of. Okay, now, with that said, I'm going to show you this. Okay? You can do this or not do this. I'm going to back out. I'm going to show you what I do. This may be of help to you. It may not. Don't know. But this is what I'll do. I'll take these two pieces of micro. Because what happens as you're doing this and you're trying to get up under this piece of this spine piece, and you're trying to run that piece behind there, what happens is this piece, it starts to loosen up. It starts to pull out down here at the bottom. Up here where it's all tied, it's not going to move so much. But it starts getting loose, and we don't want it that way. All right? So what I do, and I'll say this, once you get down here to the bottom and you got all this woven, you don't have very much room anyway to get up under it, right? So you can go ahead and do what I'm about to show you, and it will, maybe, it seems to be easier. May not be faster, but it seems to make it seems like to me it's faster because it makes it. I'm not fighting with the cord as much. And I say this. I say this in a lot of my videos. Why is there an ant crawling on there? But sometimes I'll do this so you, the viewer, can see what I'm doing better. But sometimes I actually do it because it makes the weaving easier. And in this case, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to go ahead and take me 2 of my stitching needles, the ones that I would use when I actually do stitching with a piece of micro cord. And I'm going to put them on the ends of this. Make sure it's on there. Now take the other one and do it the same way. Now if you don't have any of these, you don't necessarily need them, but they come in handy. If you plan on doing this and you want to do this and get good at it and do it a lot, I would recommend getting you some. Even if they are, I hate to say it, the cheap American, I don't care if you spend $30 for what you think is a quality set from one of these mainstream paracord supply companies, they still are in no way as good as these brass ones I've ordered from Europe. Because I've got some of those ones and they're not the same. They're not the same, man. But as a starter set, hey, go right ahead. But, yeah. That way, now you got this. But remember, you got this really, really, really long piece of cord. So when you go to sit this down, you don't want it to drop on the floor and go pink and dent the tip of this and mar the tip of it. Whether you got the aluminum ones, stainless steel ones, or in my case, brass, which is a little softer. You don't want to do that. So you got to be mindful of that, right? Okay. So now, what we're going to do. I'm going to show you this. Now that I've got those on there, I'm going to show you how this will help a little bit. Okay. We're back to the starting point of the repetition. Right? We got to go on this side. When you got them, one on each side, like this, whichever side you started on, whether it be the right or left, in my case, we started over here on the right side. That's the one we're going to go to. Right? We're going to do this one. But like I said, when you have them both on the same side, you go for that one on the top. That's just the way you remember. Okay, so what we're going to do, we got to get that lead cord, which is this one. Right? And the way I do this, you've already seen the mechanics of it. I'm going to show you the shorthand. I'm going to just bring this over like this. I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to follow the end of it until I get to that needle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over that piece of micro there, and this is where the fid comes in handy, this stitching needle. All I got to do is fish it through right there. Under that piece of micro, or that core strand, and this loop right here, just go up through that loop. And pull it through. And you're not fumbling, fighting, trying to get all that. That fid makes that so much easier. And now you get right here, you just tighten it up. Push it up, tighten it, pull it here. Now, we're on this side. Bring that piece of 550 across all that and down through that slot. And pull the slack out, pushing it up, whatever. Makes sense? And that's it. Now we go back to the Cobra. And again, we're going to take that Cobra, bring it across, find the end where the needle is, go over there, behind that spine or that core piece, and angle it up so it goes above right here. That way you get it through that loop. And just pull your slack through. Pull it tight. push it up, pull it tight. Reach back here and pull this one again so it tightens it up right there. Right? Now, back to this. Which one do I grab? Don't get confused. Just grab them both, pull them out, and you're gonna feel one of them is gonna be toward this top, and one's gonna be toward the bottom. The one that's on the top is the one you go with. Bring it across, down through the middle, pull your slack out. When you get them on the opposite sides, that's where I always use. That's to take the opportunity to kind of tighten them up, push them up, tighten it up. Right. Now back to the Cobra. Bring it across. Find the end of this one. Over the top of that micro here, behind that core strand there, and then angle it so it goes up through that loop here. Pull your slack through, and that's it. I mean, that's it. And pull it right there. Ant. Must have got on me from, I don't know. Now we're back to fishtail on either side. When you get to the fishtail on either side, which side did I start on? I started on this right side. So guess what? We bring that right side over. We go down through the middle slot. Pulling it tight. Pushing it up, trying to minimize those gaps. Bringing it back to the Cobra, bring it across the lead strand across the top. We went over it. I mean, all down here is where it's over. We're going to go underneath that core strand and up through this little loop just created. And we'll just pull a slack through. Pull it tight. Ooh, getting caught down there. Pull it tight. Make sure you're getting the right one. The one that's on the top. Come across. And go down through that middle slot. Take the opportunity to tighten them both up. Push it up, push it up. Tighten up your Cobra. And we can see it starting to form. That's it. That's all there is to this. Now, I know I did. I'm going to back out because I'm done. I'm sure y'all probably stopped watching a long time ago. But I just wanted to explain that because it can be confusing. And there's a lot of things, if you're new, this can be intimidating and a daunting task because you get confused. You forget what step you're on in the process. And I tried to give you all the little tips and tricks, you know, like the fishtail. When they're both on the same side, go with the top one. Right? The lead cord is the one that always goes across the top of the core strand, and that's the one that gets interwoven. Actually, it's interwoven, but what happens is you're just bringing that piece of fishtail up around it, and that's what's causing it to go underneath it. And most likely, like I said, because of that, all those little extra pieces, that's what shortens it up in the end. So when you get down to the end, the two pieces on it, let's just look. Yeah, see, remember when we started, I told you there was about an inch difference in the lengths of those two pieces of micro cord. Right, you can see where the cord ends and that fid starts. When I started, there was about an inch difference between those two. Now, it's about 2 inches. And that's because of the way this is woven together. So imagine after you do the entire bracelet, it's going to get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And it may be a foot shorter by the time you get to the end. Hence why I say overestimate and make sure in the beginning that you've got it at the center point. That way, when you get to the end, that piece that's shortened, that keeps getting shorter as you go, is still actually long enough to finish doing the Cobra weave. I learned that the hard way. So we can all learn from Tyndall's stupid mistakes. But that's it. That's all there is to it. Now, I'm going to finish weaving this out like I always do. I'm going to finish weaving this out, and I'm going to come back. Now, like I said in the beginning, the way this... Here, let me zoom back in so you can see this. The way this piece of goldenrod, this acting as the core strand for the Cobra, the way it's going through the slot in this buckle and the way it's going through the slot in the bottom of the buckle, as I said, that is temporary. I am going to take that out because I don't like the way that looks. You're not going to see it. Once it goes to that cow hitch right here, right above my finger, where that piece of pastel yellow is, that goldenrod is going to not, once it goes to that cow hitch, you're not going to see it. It's not going to come out and go through here. You're not going to see it. And it's going to be kind of the same way on the bottom. But I'm going to weave this out, and when I get to that point, I'll come back and I'll show you how I fix all that. And I'll show you how I back weave all this stuff and try to hide it on the non-display side. And we'll have this a fishtail with a Cobra inlay. Just stick around and I'll show you how I finish it off. Okay, weavers, I got it weaved out to the end and I'm just about finished. But like I said, I figured I'd come back and I'd show you how I finish this off and take care of these two tails we got going on here. Now, I'm going to tell you, use the measurements in the description. They're not going to be the same that I've got here. So just be mindful of that. I know I've got a little bit of excess, a little bit longer than I even for me. So the numbers down below will reflect what they should be. Okay, let's see. I'm going to finish this thing off. Now when you get down here to the end, it gets a little tight. And what we got to do here, I'm going to zoom in so you can see this. I've explained this on a few of these weaves in these tutorials before, but I'll show you, I'll explain this again. Okay, if we look, get all this out of the way, let me zoom in one more time, maybe you can get a better look at this. If you look right here on this side, right there, that is the outer core strand. You can still see it. Okay. Now on this side you don't see it. We've ran it all the way down. So this right here is most likely going to be the last one. Okay. So we're going to do it slightly different than the rest of them. That way we can get all these ends of these cords on the non-display side, or the back side of this bracelet, where we're going to do our cut and burn and we can hide them, right? Okay, so let me see. Like I've said before, that camera's looking straight down, but I'm looking at it from this angle from the side, so I can't see it very well. So bear with me here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, since we're on this side, I got to do my Cobra one more time. And this is the lead one. We're going to bring it across the top. And I'm going to take this one. We're going to go over that one. Underneath that piece of goldenrod is acting as our core strand for the Cobra. And up through right here. We're going to pull our slack through. We're going to kind of tighten that up. Okay. Now, again, back to this. Which one do we use? The one that's on the top. Oh, goodness. Toward the top of the buckle. Now, we're going to come down. We're going to do just like we did. This is where the fids come in. The needles come in really handy. Do just like we've been doing. It just gets a little tight. Make sure you get it in the right place. We're going to go down through there. Pull it through. Okay. Now give me a second. Let me look at this. Let's see if I can get one more in there on this side. Yeah, I'm going to do one more on this side. Just because when I kind of push it up, you can still see that core strand just a little bit right there. I'm going to try to cover as much of it as I can. Okay, now, when you get down here to the end, I'll say this. Here's a little tip. Because for any of you who've done a fishtail, you know that if you do it the way I do it anyway, and you take the ends of all your cords and you back weave them into the back side of the bracelet, because this fishtail is such a thin and narrow bracelet, and you have all this material you're going to back weave into there, what it can do is it can cause the sides of this bracelet, it'll narrow up. It'll distort what it looks like, right? So the way you prevent that is when you get down here to the end, these little pieces of 550 that are wrapping around, don't pull these quite as tight. Leave it a little bit loose. That way when you actually have room to get these into the back weave, and it doesn't cause everything to distort and look funky. You can see where all that stuff comes in the cut and burn, right? And you see the sides of it. So you can see the core strand a little bit right there, which I should have done another one on it. But that's okay. It's okay. And like this one over here, it doesn't lose its shape. See, down here, it doesn't lose its shape. Right? And that's what we're going to try to prevent. Okay, so I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to do the Cobra one more time. Bring the lead cord, bring it over. Take this one. Go under it. Go over it, and then underneath it, and up under here. And run it up through there. That's where these needles come in handy. Like I said, you don't necessarily have to have them when you're doing up here, but it does make it a little easier. But when you get down here, yeah, they're almost a necessity to have them. We're going to tighten that one up. That's going to be the last one. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this one right here. This is going to wrap around, and I'm going to run it back down through there, and this is going to be the last one. Just running it through. We'll pull it. Okay, now, this is where it kind of gets tricky. What I'm going to do, okay, now remember, this is the lead Cobra strand. That's the one that's going across the top of the Goldenrod core strand. And this is the secondary. Doesn't matter which one you do first, but I'm gonna do this side first because I can see it better. What I'm gonna do is, you see how it's coming through that loop that you created on the Cobra weave, right? Don't run it back through the loop. You gotta keep it in that loop. Here, I'm gonna zoom in real close so you can see it. I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. Okay? You see how it's coming out of this loop right here? When you go to do what I'm about to show you, don't run it back through this loop. Don't run it through that loop. Run it down here below the loop. And just go through. In the same place you've been running these pieces of 550, that's the same place you're going to run that one down through there. And just run it down through there. Alright? And that's going to finish it off on that side. That gets that piece of microcord on the back side, and it finishes that side of it off. Okay, now for this one, this is the lead cord of the Cobra. What you're going to do here is you're going to take it, and you're going to do the same thing. Right below where this piece of 550 is wrapping around, you're going to go, and you're going to go down through that same place. In between those two core strands on this side, two core strands on this side, but you're going to do it below this wrap and go down through there and pull it through. And what's going to happen is this piece of, this little loop you got, it's going to disappear up under that piece of 550, and you're not going to see it. Watch. And it disappears. Right? And then that's the way the end of the bracelet's going to look for the most part. Now, we got all that done. We got everything on the back side. We got to cut and burn all that. We got to back weave it and then cut and burn it. But we got to take care of these tails. This tail here and the tail on the bottom. All right, so I'm going to zoom back out so you can see. Now, I'm going to take it off my jig. All right, get the jig out of the way. Let's see, how much space have I got up here? Yeah, let me zoom out just a little bit more. Maybe I may zoom back in. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this, I'm going to flip it over. And all these cords, because I got quite a lot of excess, which that's okay. I'm not worried about that. Just make sure we don't get them all tangled up. Okay, now first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of this. And what I show you up here with this is the same thing I'm going to do with this piece down here. Okay, so if I'm right-handed, I'm going to kind of turn this thing around. I'm going to flip it over. And what I'm going to do, you can do this however, what's easiest for you. Go up here and kind of get up under that piece and pull it back through that slot. Right, so it's not running through there. Now, I'm going to attach a fid. Then this is where, in the beginning, when I told you, make sure that this piece is long enough. Make sure that this piece is long enough that that fid can fold back over itself and you can get the needle where you need it to go. That's why that piece is that long. That's why I said that in the very beginning. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're basically going to kind of come up here, up at the top where we started weaving, in between those two pieces of 550 right there, and below that piece of plastic of the buckle, or metal, whatever, below that piece of buckle, you're going to go right through there, and you're going to come out the back side. We see that? Making sure you don't have a twist in this. And just run it through there. And what's going to happen is that piece of goldenrod is going to disappear up under there, and you're not going to see it up here in this buckle area. See, and to me, personally, that looks better than having it go through that, coming up through that hitch and then going through the slot in the buckle. To me, that looks better. Looks neater, right? Okay, now that we got our fid attached, all we're going to do is just back weave it under. I usually do 2 of these. Doesn't matter which side you do it on, but I'll go ahead and tell you, I'm going to do it on this side. That way, because if I try to do it on this side, it's right next to that piece of cord that I'm doing. You see how they're right next to each other? Over here, I got a little bit of room. But I'm going to run it up under those 2 pieces. We see that? We just pull it through, making sure it doesn't have a twist in it. Okay, now flip it over and look at it. Now see, because I know it's there, and you do too. You see how these 2 pieces are kind of sticking out a little bit on this side right here, where I ran that up? Now, that's just one piece. And when you get down here and you got all this stuff and you run it up under there, yeah, that little, the way it distorts it will be magnified because you have more material, right? So, we'll get there. We'll deal with that when we get there. But right there, that's it. That's the end. That's all we do to the top of it, right there. I'm going to flip this over, get this out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and cut and burn this one. Get your smoothing tool, whatever you use, at the ready. Get your pair of scissors. Now, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to give this a little pull to make sure it's tight. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to bend it back up. That way, when I cut it, it'll be sticking out as opposed to laying flat, and I'll actually be able to burn it. Hopefully, without burning the actual bracelet itself. Now, I know a lot of people make the mistake. They try to cut this. Don't cut it so close that you burn your bracelet. Leave a little bit of length there. And I know some people get so concerned. That right there. Oh, hey, look up. Guess what? It's on the non-display side. It's not meant to be seen. So don't be so concerned with it. As long as you're not burning your bracelet, you're only burning those ends that you've cut, you'll be okay. Right? But we see how it kind of sticks up. And what you can do, especially with one of these fishtails, you can just bend it back like that. That gets your bracelet out of the way, so it sticks out even more. And then you come back, I'll go ahead and tell you, okay? You see how I've got it on this side of the bracelet. So when I go to smooth this out, I'm going to start on this edge and roll it toward the center. That way, because if I do it the other way, what's going to happen is that molten plastic is going to wrap around and you're going to see it on this edge. We don't want that, so we're going to roll it toward the middle. Does that make sense? But if you're on this side, if you've done this back weave on this side, whichever side you're on, roll it toward the middle of the bracelet. That way it won't be seen. All right? Okay, so now with all that said, I'm going to do this. And say the fact of rolling it around this way, it doesn't come into play so much here because you've only got one piece. But down here, where you got all it, yeah, it's going to come into play here because you got so many cords. Okay, so next, we're done with that. Too short to save. Put the fid back in the holder. In the trash can, I'll put that piece. Okay, now with this right here, this is the way I do this. Okay. First off, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this piece. We're going to do the same thing with this piece. We're going to flip it over. We're going to come over here. And I guess I could get that fid back out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fish up under there. And I'm going to pull it through that slot. Because I don't want it, that doesn't look right to me. I don't like the way that looks. So I'm going to fix this. I'm going to pull this through. Okay, now I'm going to attach my fid, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the other one. I'm going to just run it through right here at the bottom. See that? Now this one's not going to look, it's not going to be as clean up here as this is, because there's no hitch to run it through or anything like that. Alright, so we got that. Now loosen that piece of Cobra up a little bit, so I'm going to kind of reach back here and I'm going to tighten all that up again. Okay, and see, that's what it's going to end up looking like. Which I really wish I could hide the very tip of that piece of Goldenrod. I wish there was a way, I'm sure. There might be. But for now, that's the way I do it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to flip it back over and lay it back out like this. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to get all these cords hang on just a second. What does that say? Oh yeah. Nice scam there, buddy. I've been getting quite a lot of those. I get a lot of packages, and I've been getting quite a few texts lately. Whether it be FedEx, Postal Service, or UPS, you get a text message and say, your package cannot be delivered because of incomplete address. Click this link and confirm your address. They're fishing for information. That's what that is. That's a scam. Because I don't have any. There are no UPS packages associated with my name or my phone number being currently in delivery, any stage of delivery. That's how I know that's fake. I got one the other day. It was saying it was from the post office, and I was like, and I looked at it. I'm like, yeah, that's not right. But anyway, here's my public service announcement. Okay, now we got all these back here. What we're going to do is I'm going to pull all this out and make sure I don't have it all knotted up, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do is if you look at this, you're going to have two pieces of micro. One's going to be on one side, one's going to be on the other. And I'm going to kind of separate them that way for now. Okay, I'm going to look down here. If you look down here, you can see, just look at the back of your bracelet, and you're going to see what I'm going to end up doing. You can do it this way or however you want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spread out all this. I don't want, normally I would put them all under and back weave them in the same spot. But because it's going to affect the way the front of this bracelet looks, I'm not going to do it on that one. I'm going to spread it out. I'm going to put one of these pieces of 550 on this side and back weave it. And these other two, I'm going to back weave them on the other side. And then just a piece of micro. Sometimes I'll put the micro all together because they are small and whatever. It's not going to affect it that much. But let's see. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get that piece of micro over here. I'm going to put all three of these on this side here and put these two right here on this side. We'll look around, but make sure the front of it still looks good. Okay. Now, I'm going to do the piece of 550 first. Whenever you got a piece of micro, normally you stitch and your micro's the last thing you do. But in this situation where you're going to do a piece of 550 and some micro and you got to back weave it, I normally do the piece of 550 first. Why? Because once you get it in there, it's going to make it tight. And it's easier to get a small lacing needle through that same spot than it is to, you know, create some tightness by putting this in there and then trying to put a big fat needle through there. So always do the fat one first and then your thinner ones afterwards. Make sense? Okay, and just like up here, I'm going to do it under two of them. See that? Pull it through. And when you pull it through, make sure it doesn't have a twist in it. When I do it, I'm going to pull it. Like I said, we're going to burn it and we're going to roll it toward this side to push that plastic this way. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it down this way to keep it in the center so it's not out here on this edge. That's my thought behind why I'm doing that. Alright, now we're going to take our other pieces of microcord, or pieces of microcord, and run them up under there. Same spot. Uh-oh. See that? Pull it through. Uh-oh. We're getting caught. I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to kind of pull it back this way. I'm going to take the final piece of the microcord. Now, just to show you, like here, let me do this and I'll show you what I was talking about. Same spot, just run it up under there. Pull your excess through. Make sure it's not hooked on the end of the buckle or anything. Okay. I got them all in. Pull it. Okay, now remember, in the beginning, when I told you we're going to start with the halfway point of that microcord at the top. And we started doing that Cobra. And I said, the nature of the way this thing's woven together, when you get done, the two ends aren't going to be even. Now, I started off, and there was about an inch difference between the two ends of that microcord, correct? And I woven a little bit of it, and I showed you that started off with an inch difference, and when I showed it to you, there's about 2 inches difference. Now that it's completely done, and all the weaving's done, let's see the difference in the two lengths. Okay, there's one of them right there. We say that. I told you one piece is going to be shorter in the final than the other one. Hence why hang on, let me do this again. Wait a minute, that's what's wrong. Hence why this piece is so long. Here, I'll lay it out here. These are 1 inch squares if you don't know that. Yeah, there's almost 11 inches of difference in between these two lengths. And remember, I started off and it was already an inch different. And now it's 11. So this has been a 10-inch. One piece got 10 inches shorter. Right? So hence why this is quite long. To make sure that there's enough in the end. Right? Okay, there's those. We got those under there. Now, we're going to do these two. But I'm going to do them on this side down here. And let's see. I'm going to do this yellow one first. And have it closer toward the middle. And I'm going to do this one toward the outside. I think. Let's see. Yeah, that's the way I'm going to do this. Alright. Now I'm going to do, just like on the other side, I'm going to go up under two of them. Right through there. Pull it through. And before you get it down there to the end, make sure it doesn't have a twist in this piece. Pull it through. And you notice I'm pulling it this way to pull it toward the center of the bracelet. That way it's not over here on the edge when I go to cut and burn it. Now, this one, again, why that piece was so long? So I can fold it back over itself in that needle. There's enough room that I can get that needle in there. You see that? Same spot. Push it through. Make sure there's no twist in it. Pulling it toward the center. Okay, now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to look at it. And you see how it looks like it gets a little wider down there? You can kind of squeeze it with your fingers. Okay, now, if we look at this, normally what I would do, when I cut all these, I would try to burn them all at once so that the melted plastic from these two and the melted plastic from this over here would all join together. Well, you notice how these come out here and the ones over on this side, they come out way up here. So it's not necessarily going to be quite possible. So what I'm going to do, separate them out to their sides, and I'm going to cut this one first. Remember, leave you a little bit so you actually have something to burn. Okay, now I'm going to cut the other ones. Again, pulling these toward the center. Okay, now get all that out of the way for now. Okay, we see that. What I'm going to do, I guess it really doesn't matter which ones I do first. But I'm going to take this bracelet, I'm going to bend it back like this. And I'm going to come at those ends with the flame coming this way, so the heat's going up, as opposed to doing it from the side. Because if I do it from the side, I'm potentially going to, if I come at it from the side, it'll do it just the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to do one side, then I'm going to do the other side. I'm not going to try to do this all at once because there's too much space in between them. I always feel it. It's got a little bit of a burr right there. So I'm going to be very careful. Just hit it real quick. Soften it back up. Smooth out that burr. Yep, that did it. Alright, now. If you look straight on, you don't see it. But as soon as you start turning it, you can see where it is. All right? It's just the nature of the way this fishtail is. You don't have, it's not a very wide bracelet, and you're trying to hide all this stuff on the back. So, okay. Now, that piece of yellow, I know you can't see this on camera, but that piece of the pastel yellow cord, the end of it has went like that. So I'm going to try to get it back together a little bit. It'll be okay once I actually do this. From the outside edge toward the center. There you go. People go, well, that's not very pretty. Well, maybe it's not, but guess what? It's the non-display side. It's not meant to be seen. That's the side that's meant to be seen. That's the side I want to look good. Now, there you go. Now, granted, you see how it's all, I suggest this. This is what I always do. Before you take a picture of it, straighten the thing out. I see so many people take pictures of it. They have it up there all snapped. And I'm like, straighten it out best you can. Get it to look straight. But there it is. Now, like I said, my wife's got a 6.5-inch wrist, which I know this is going to fit. But I'm going to put it on this mandrel anyway. It's about 6 3/4 inches. Which is good, because she likes them loose like that. And like I said, if I put it on there, I could stretch that thing down there, and I could fit that. I could even fit that on my wrist. But I don't think I'm going to be wearing a yellow fishtail with a Cobra Inlay anytime soon. But that's it right there. That's it. That's how I weave one of these things. Like I said, if you watch this whole thing, I appreciate you sticking around. I tell people all the time, I said, you're more welcome to subscribe and watch my tutorials. I said, but be warned, they're longer than normal. Why? Because I explain what I'm doing. I don't just over here, under there, pull tight. Anybody can do that, but I want you, me, and everybody else to actually learn how to do this better, to think about what you're doing, as opposed to simply following a video by the numbers. Do this, do this, do this. And then that's what you produce. Well, okay. But what you learn in watching me make this, you may be able to use one of those techniques because I'm explaining why I'm doing it on something else you do. Makes sense. But with all that said, I'm going to be done. But that's how I weave a fishtail with a Cobra Inlay. That one turned out quite nice. Not a fan of the yellow, but it looks really good. But with that said, I'm going to end this one like I end them all. Keep it neat, keep it clean, and keep it tight. Happy weaving, folks.